Well, good morning to everybody out there. Greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. I want to thank you all for jumping on in and joining us on Lions Talk Live on a Saturday edition. We won't make this very long. There's not a whole lot of new news that you guys probably haven't already digested from some other sources. But just to get in, get you a part of your morning routines, get you a little bit of information on the Lions content the day before the game. Here we go. We've got some information on just different situations with the injury bug that has affected the Detroit Lions. As you're probably aware, Brian Branch is out, and he's going to be out for this week, and hopefully it's only this week. That ankle doesn't sound great, but, he's had 10 days off since the Green Bay Packers game, and this will give him another 7 days off until we play against Tampa Bay and then Baltimore. And I think we all agree that those two games are shaping up to be huge games for the Detroit Lions. Also, it looks like St. Brown and his band of renown might not get down tomorrow against the Carolina Panthers. So what that would mean is, we talked about it yesterday on Lions Talk Live, and then in the week that I thought he had a chance to play. It sounds like he wants to play. I think it's going to come down to whether or not the medical staff are going to allow him to play. If St. Brown can't go, the 15 to 20 snaps I thought Jameson Williams would get might actually go up a little bit. So does that mean that Josh Reynolds is starting one wide receiver, maybe Marvin Jones, and then Khalif Raymond? Better to be safe than sorry. I agree with that, Jay Mommy. Yeah, let them get some rest. It's it's going to change some things for sure. But what I would anticipate, especially since Carolina is not strong against the run, this might mean that we see more two tight end formation or 12-man personnel. So maybe LaPorta and Brock. Good morning, Gary. Good morning to you too. I think it might be a little bit more of all that. All right, Brother Ken, Dan, did you hear about the 49ers adding another pass rusher? I did. And that was somebody, former Dallas guy. Yeah, Gregory, I think he's got some real ability, but I don't think he's probably a primary player for you. He's a nice piece to add, though. Curtis Steele, how you doing? We need to get you on the show again. So give me a message and let me know when you're ready for, before you head out for your morning coffee, another opportunity to stop on by. Don, Green, Reynolds, Raymond, LaPorta, Marvin Jones. Yeah, I agree. Antoine Green. And I haven't heard anything since really week one when he got that concussion. So I'm assuming at this point he's okay. But I also think that it's possible we see more two tight end or 12-man personnel out there where we just hammer away, shorter passing game. Let LaPorta, maybe Reynolds. Like you said, Don, we're going to have some personnel to throw at him for sure. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if we ground and pound a lot more, especially since, as you guys probably also know, Kirby Joseph's going to be iffy. Mosley, you're going to want to limit probably his snaps on his first day back. So if you control that clock a little bit more, the effectiveness of missing some players on defense becomes a whole lot lessened. Gary Jones needs to step up. Yeah, he's been pretty much a no-show other than a mentoring standpoint. And I get it. I mean, Father Time comes for us all and is still undefeated. But Marvin Jones, yeah, it's like he went from being a pretty good NFL player to a player of, just kind of wearing a jersey at this point. And he did it very quickly. Brother Ken, his contract is so big, I can't blame Brad Holmes for passing up on him. Yeah, and, Brother Ken, I don't know if you've seen yesterday's video or any of the other ones this week. I do think the Lions are going to make a move. I've kind of laid out the players that it sounds like they're targeting. And I get there's everybody wanting to get the other Washington kid, Jalen Carter, or excuse me, not Carter, Chase Young from Washington. I get it. It makes sense. I think he would be awesome opposite side Hutchinson. It's just whether or not we're going to give up the draft capital to go get someone like that. And that's kind of the I guess, odd part. And you guys let me know your thoughts on it. But the four guys that I'm getting that the Lions are going after, Jeffrey, Simmons and all that, two of them are going to cost to get them. And not just to acquire them from that team, but then to pay them and keep them part of the team. The other two, and I know I always killed the Pittsburgh kid's name, and then the DJ from the Broncos, those two are going to be significantly cheaper. So it's just my anticipation. We are going to make a move. Brad Holmes is, establishing some lines of communication, some baselines for what both teams are going to be willing to give and what they want. But, hey, I guess we'll see what happens. But he's definitely putting the word out. The Lions are buyers, it looks like, heading into the trade deadline. Jay Mommy, do you think Gibbs will be targeted more? There's a question if he'll even play tomorrow. And that's the odd part. So he must have pulled his hamstring, or at least somewhat tweaked it, yesterday in practice, because he wasn't there at all prior in the week on the injury report. So I won't be surprised if he doesn't go over or is very limited. So if he is limited, then you're going to look at Reynolds and Montgomery carrying the workload. So, Reynolds is fine. I got no problems with him. But we'll see what happens with Gibbs. Hopefully it's nothing big, and hopefully he can play tomorrow, because I don't want to overlook anybody. And that was the point of today's video, is you got a chance to dominate a team. Even if you are beat up and injured, so are they. You've got to go after them, and you got to put them in the ground. I'm really hoping that Bryce Young has a horrible day. A lot of that seems to be lining up. Aaron Glenn, as you guys all know, the last couple of weeks, he's done an outstanding job with that defensive front. The Lions have only blitzed something like 17 times, or 17% of the time. And that's a pretty low number. So we're getting incredible pressure on the other team's quarterback in the last 2 weeks with no blitzing or incredibly little blitzing. We can continue that trend. That means you are dropping a lot of guys into coverage. That's going to be huge. If we can force Bryce Young into a couple turnovers, 3 to 5 sacks, and keep them off the scoreboard, that will help alleviate some of the pressure or, stress not having a Gibbs or a St. Brown. All right, Don, if Gibbs plays and James Mitchell looks to be out. Yeah, and Mitchell's, we talked about him a little bit yesterday. I think you remember, Don, that I thought going into the season he would have a much more prominent role. And some of that is LaPorta has been, lights out. I don't think anybody can disagree that LaPorta is far superseding anybody's expectations realistically for what we would get out of him. We'll see what happens, but sorry, because I think Mitchell's got some real promise. All right, Brother Ken, what about a pass rusher from the CFL? I wish I could say I've watched enough CFL games to be able to say, hey, how about this guy or that guy? There could be somebody up there. It's just, Ken, you want me to be honest? I just don't have a name to give you. I'm sure they are aware of some people, but I just don't know offhand who I could recommend to you guys or even them if somebody were to ask, and they don't call me asking for recommendations. But, I'm not privy to that one. All right, Kurt, what you got? Bam Knight, yeah, he'll have to. He'll be up there with, I'm sure, Craig Reynolds. And he didn't do bad, I thought, against Atlanta. It's just there were a couple times you could tell he only been up on it with the active roster a couple days, and he was a little hesitant with some of his reads on as far as his run blockings, especially the 1 or 2 times he pulled traps or sweeps out wide. Yeah, he was a little late on him, but again, you get limited reps. Yeah, you're kind of thinking more than reacting. Do I hear anything about Green, J Mommy? No, not really. So I guess what I would say from that is if you don't hear anything, I would say there's nothing really to report. So my guess is, he'll be one of the people filling in tomorrow if St. Brown can't go, which I'm going to guess they're probably going to hold him out. If the coaching staff really feels like they can win this game comfortably, they're probably holding out St. Brown and maybe, Kirby Joseph and some other guys that could go, if it was a playoff game, big game, they probably go. But my problem is, I hate saying it, man, but maybe it's just the coach me. I hate overlooking anybody. My philosophy is more that first quarter, second quarter, we're going to bury your butt. And then if we feel like, we're comfortable there, get halfway through that third quarter where now we can control the clock fully, then we'll put some people out and say, hey, you guys take the rest of this game off. Just, go sit and relax. Don't do anything more to tweak that. But that first half, we're going to do what we can. I got to watch my language, but we're going to do what we can to put ourselves in a favorable position. Brother Ken, AJ has stepped up his game. He has. And there was one YouTuber like a week ago or so had a chat with about it because this guy was clearly going after AJ. And I get, if you do YouTube for a living, which I don't, I do it for fun. I enjoy it. I don't do it for any kind of financial gain or whatever. With that being said, don't be afraid to hit that like button or subscribe button. But anyways, he put out a video and we chatted about him attacking Aaron Glenn. But let's also be fair and look at I guess you could say this is a year and almost a half now. The first year, I get it. The defense wasn't great. He didn't have a lot to work with. Year two, yeah, the first 6, 7 games, it didn't look great. But beyond that, if you remove those first 6, 7 games, the defense was not bad last year. That last, 10 or so games, they were, were they top 10? No. Were they bottom 20? No. So they were somewhere between 20 and 10. And I would say probably closer to like 18. This year, obviously, if you look at the stats and everything, we're top 10 in a lot of categories. So I would say, give Aaron Glenn his due. I mean, you can say whatever you want about the Seattle game, but my stance on the Seattle game was this. The offense gave up 14 points via turnovers. You could say coaching decisions on fourth down gave up another 6 points. That's 20 out of the 37 points. And, and that's including an overtime. While the defense wasn't great, I don't think they were bad by any stretch. So, anyway, there's my 2 cents. All right, what do we got? Patty, hey, what's up? Good to see you. Hope you're having a good morning, and love the Yoda doll, by the way. Robert, what's up with Gibbs? Sounds like he's got a pulled hammy, so I won't be surprised if he sits tomorrow. Either that or they're going to really limit him. So, but, I mean, then again, you're going to have Montgomery, you're going to have Knight, Craig Reynolds. I mean, I'm hoping we'll be fine. So we'll see. Gary Myers, Gronk said in 4 years, LaPorta will be the highest paid, tight end in football. Gronk loves him. Yeah, and it's Gary. It's hard not to. And I don't know if you've seen any of this stuff this week we've done on LaPorta, but to me, the route running, the receiving part for rookie NFLs. Rookie tight ends in the NFL. I think that's the easier part to learn. And not that it's easy, but I think it's easier to learn than the run blocking mechanics. I just think most tight ends get owned in that respect. But if you watch LaPorta, and I get he's putting up tons of yards, catches, and stuff, but watch when he blocks, watch his elbows, watch his hand placement, and watch the thumbs. To me, it all starts with that. And the fact that he's already so diligent upon controlling those body mechanics there to where he can win leverage and then finish it off by pushing the thumbs into the shoulder pads to manipulate the defensive player. I mean, you want to ever see if somebody's a really good run blocker with a tight end and an offensive lineman, check out their thumbs, check out their knuckles, check out their hands, check out how beat up and torn up those things get. And now the fact that he can still catch with those, because you're driving into that fabric, because you're driving into the pads and trying to manipulate often the 250 to 350 pound person. I mean, this kid's rare, and it probably doesn't get talked about enough. But if he ends up winning Offensive Rookie of the Year, or at least being in contention, it should get talked about more, because he is, like, to be a pro athlete in any sport, you've got to be less than 1% of the genetic codes across this planet. And now to be in the top portion of your particular position in your respective sport, I mean, you've got to be incredibly rare. So how rare is this kid from a mathematical standpoint? You probably have a better chance of winning the Powerball twice today. So just my 2 cents there. Gibbs is listed as questionable. Yeah. So Brother Ken, yeah, I think there's a chance he plays. I think if he plays, he's probably going to be limited, but we will see. Don Burr, this is why getting depth is so important, because people want to trade Tracy Walker. As soon as CJ Garner was signed, no, keep quality depth. I agree. We all know it, especially if you've been a football fan, a basketball fan, a baseball fan. Injuries are unavoidable in any sport that I'm privy to. And if you don't have a backup or two, I mean, think about the Lions' offensive line against Atlanta. They had to go to their fourth string right tackle option in order to play that second half and finish the game. The game, even though we're up, basically 10 most of the second half, if you don't have those backups, ooh, that game's probably a whole lot different because you get a real weakness, especially on the O-line. That offense isn't doing anything. And not that Atlanta's did, but I think you guys get the point. Bergs, what's happening? Good morning, man. Let's go. Big game. Tomorrow, hopefully, 4-1. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, and the point of the thumbnail and the video was that the worst thing they could do, and I don't think we're going to do it, so don't take it that way. The worst thing we can do is overlook Carolina and do what basically Dallas did against the Arizona Cardinals and just lay an egg, keep thinking that, you know what, next quarter we'll turn it on and get that game over. Because these are still pro athletes. These are still rare players and people. They may not have enough talent to say, hey, on a consistent basis, we can win. But, man, you give people an opportunity to think and look up at that scoreboard and say, we got a chance here, where now they're playing out of their minds, playing better than they normally do, just pulling off little plays here and there to where your team starts feeling a little tension, nervousness. Maybe you're a little half second, quarter second late with a pass, late with a tackle. I mean, you get the idea. You give somebody a chance to believe. That's not good. And, yeah, I'm with you. Come out from the opening kickoff and put them through the turf. All right, Jay Mommy, it looks like we're going to be ground and pound and play action. Yeah, and to be fair, that's offensively what we're best at. And with the play action with Jamison, if he's out there, Khalif Raymond, and, man, I wouldn't mind having them both on opposite sides of the field because you're going to have to bite on someone. You're going to have to, commit to probably Jamison if you feel it's going to be a deep shot. That's going to open up LaPorta or Reynolds or whoever. So good points. Patty Grimes, what you got? How many sacks do you think the Lions can get on Bryce Young? I'll say this. If we can establish a 14, 17, 20-point lead, especially early in the game where it's like, second quarter, early third quarter, Carolina doesn't do a great job of protecting Young as far as with the run game. And some of that is they haven't been in a lot of close games. Last week's was, but if you don't run the ball and defensive linemen know they can just tee off, I'll use the Packers game as an example of, I think, an offensive coordinator hanging their quarterback out to dry. Green Bay gave up on that run game pretty quick, and I get they weren't getting anything out of it, and then they fell behind. But at that point, man, that QB, everybody knows he's got a pass. Everybody knows they don't have to worry about rush lane responsibilities. They can just turn and burn. Yeah, Bryce Young could have a horrible day tomorrow if that situation plays out where we get up big and they just say, the heck with it, we got to toss the ball 50 times to try to stay competitive. It's going to lead to turnovers. It's going to lead to that kid getting hit a lot. And as a Lions fan, I'll be selfish and say, yeah, I hope he gets sacked. My prediction, 4 to 7 times. 4 to 7 sounds right. But as a coach, I would say this. Yeah, you're doing your player dirty if you don't take care of them. All right, brother Ken, agree 100%. Porta has great fundamentals, solid picks. Yeah, and I know what you meant, man. Yeah, again, not to keep beating up that point, but yeah, they hit a home run there, and he's trending to be one of the NFL's better players at that position for the foreseeable future. Is that 3 to 7 years, 10 years? Who knows? But unless something really sets him back, he's going to be in the league's leaders for the foreseeable future. Question, Coach. Just say that Jonathan Allen is the guy Brad Holmes wants. What's the asking price? First and 2 seconds. I'm going to say if it's me, I don't want to give up a first. And I talked about a little bit in the video yesterday. If you haven't seen it, you can go back in Lions Talk Live and find it. But with Allen, unlike Stewart, you pretty much got a baseline of what that guy's getting paid for a while. And because where Tennessee's at with their team, I think they're going to be holding out for first and second. With Washington, though, I think they're in a bad spot from a negotiating standpoint. This is why you already invested a ton in the other defensive tackle. I don't see it's with the structure of their team. I don't think they logistically could afford paying 2 defensive tackles $23 to $28 million a year. You're basically playing 2 players quarterback money to some degree, and you don't have the cap now to fill out enough spots in the rest of your team. If I'm an idiot and I can figure that out, so can anybody who actually does this, at a higher level. So I'm going to say this: they're at a bad spot, negotiating point. You're either going to have to trade him or sign him. You trade him, you get something, sign him, you're breaking your team. So I think it's going to probably be, I'm guessing, a second, a third, maybe 2/3, and you get them. To me, seeing where our team is, seeing with the potential that we could push into the upper echelon of the NFC, I probably wouldn't mind a second, and I'd probably try to get it for like a second, a fourth. You give me a seventh and a sixth, or something like that. I want to keep the same amount of picks at the end of the day. So I'm going to give you a second. I'm going to give you a third or a fourth. That's fine. But you're going to give me a 2 sevenths or a 6th and 7th. So I still have the same number of picks. So I can still bring in that many camp bodies at a cheaper cost and contract. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, Kurt. Yep. 0 to 11 sacks. Yeah. If it's 11 sack or anything near their day, then Aaron Glenn should get Player of the Week. Hey, Mac, when are you getting back into coaching? I am coaching. I won't say where right now, but the GF, she can't hear me right now since she's downstairs. But most of you guys know I was coaching overseas for, I don't know, 4 or 5, something like that, years in different markets. And there was an incident that happened over in one of them that I had to foot it on over to the U.S. Embassy. It took me a little while to get there. So she has told me, no more coaching overseas. So at least not at this time. So I'm enjoying it. It's at a lower level, no stress, but I'm enjoying it and looking forward to we got some real talent, and we'll see what happens with it. All right, Patty, what do you got here? I think 5 to 7 sacks. Yep. So I'm thinking right around there, somewhere in that range. Yeah, I could see that definitely happening again, especially if we control the game. All right, Jay Mommy, Campbell seems to help when lined up at edge. I think he's played around 50 plays there. Do you feel that the Lions are going to continue using him there? Yeah, I do. And, I know you've pointed this out a few times. I know you and I have talked about it a few times. They're doing a great job with getting more value out of him and Burns and, there's a couple of the other guys. To me, the one thing that I love in coaching or with coaches, when you stop saying, okay, this person's this position, that position, because that limits them. But, using to your point with Campbell, that dude's a monster physically. I mean, he's huge, massive, he's athletic. Why just keep him in one spot? And to Aaron Glenn's credit, after the Seattle game, he started mixing people up more and more, and I think he's getting a lot more value out of them. In time, I think Campbell is going to be a very, very good, Mike backer who can do other things. I just think they're getting more value out of him by moving around, and especially on passing downs. You can put a lot of speed and a lot of ability to get after mobile quarterbacks, which I think we all know that has been a problem for the Lions. And you've seen that with him out there, Barnes out there, Kaminsky, Hutch. You just got a lot more ability to contain a mobile quarterback on an obvious passing down. So I think you'll probably see him out there, I don't know, maybe 20 snaps this weekend. Gary, there's only 2 people I watch, listen to, and respect. You, Dan, and Matt Derry. Love your show. Thank you. Thanks for that. I'm going to have to check out Matt. I'm not privy to who that is, but I'll have to look it up. So thanks, Gary, for that. Thank you very much. One funky Lions fan, Dan, doesn't Allen have a 23 million cap hit for 3 years? I'm going to have to check that out. I know it's cap structure, but I don't know if they can defer any of that, move it around to get the current team to pay some of it. Those are factors I think if you're really going to look into the trade, we'd all have to become privy to. That's what I would say, because a lot of times you can get people moved around or some of the financials restructured in a trade. And I'm guessing you could probably talk Washington into, taking on a majority of that for this season. After that, they're probably not going to do it unless they're really desperate. But I do believe you could do that. Brother Ken, his name is Coach Dan. Yes, that's my full name. Has been. This will be or it is my 34th year coaching. So yeah, started in, I don't even remember, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Burgers, what you got? 5 sacks, I would say, yeah, somewhere I'm thinking between 4 and 7. We'll see. Maybe we just have a great day and put up. I know so somebody said 11, yeah, or Curtis Steele said that, yeah, 0 to 11. We'll see what happens. Dr. D, how you doing? I like how Brad is thinking. Yeah, and he is definitely a cerebral GM. He's definitely somebody. I would say you can never put Brad Holmes in the corner, because if he's in the corner, it's because he wanted to be there and he got you to put him there. So he got you to do what he wanted you to do. And that's the thing about him. A lot of times people get upset when I say, hey, I'm hearing that he's talking to this team, that team about this player or that player. I don't think he's doing it because he wants to acquire all these players. I think he's doing it to establish relationships with general managers, and yes, for some players. It's a whole lot harder to pull off a trade when you're calling somebody for the first time and you have zero relationship with that person. So part of the job of being a GM is to be, the life of the party, an expressive personality, it's known as. Somebody who's great at communicating, great at when you call, they want to pick up that phone. You've got some jokes, you got some wit, whatever. But if you go through the psychological aspect of things, an expressive personality is one that most other personality types gets along with. I actually don't think that's Brad Holmes' personality type. I think he's just good at portraying that role, especially when he's on the phone. And he's gotten some relationships over the years. He's become friendly with everybody. So now, hey, what are you going to do with player A here? And they're going to be a whole lot more willing to have a conversation with Brad Holmes and work out something that's a little bit more favorable for the Detroit Lions than if he just called them, cold and said, hey, what do you want for this guy? There's no relationship. There's no ability, prior to have conversations. It's a less ideal trade situation. So he's doing a great job with it. Funky, I'm not sure. I would have to look at that. Yeah, Don, you're right about the contract structure. Lab 6, I hope that they hit JMO in the end zone nice and early like they did his first game. That would really mix things up. Yeah, and I think it'd be a huge boost for Jameson Williams from an emotional and psychological standpoint. You get him going early. You put some fear in that defense, too, for Carolina. And then, you can start seeing him perform at a higher and higher level. And I think we all agree the sooner he just starts going off, man, you're going to put other defenses in real bad spots with Jameson on one side, St. Brown, LaPorta, and whoever else you're going to roll out there. Defenses can only, if you're going to spend 4 or 5 guys going after the quarterback, you are limiting how much coverage you can devote to 3 or 4 players. Good point there, Lab 6. Kurt means 50 to 11 means a bunch of sacks. Yeah, I would say, we could have a big sack day tomorrow. J. Mommy, 2 interceptions and a fumble recovery. If we get that all on Bryce Young, that will be a good day for us, along with some sacks. Burr, what you got? Who's everybody's player of the game tomorrow? Mine's Derek Barnes. Could be. It could be. I mean, I think if you go back a year ago, most people probably thought he was kind of just a depth player. But whatever he did this offseason, he came in, maybe it was the addition of Jack Campbell. I think maybe him and Anzalone said, hey, we've got to go all in or we're on the outside of this thing as far as the depth chart. So he stepped up his game, and he's playing incredibly well. Carl, what you got? Detroit Lions win by 17. Book it. Daniel will book it, Carl. I won't do that, and hopefully you get that reference. Funky, AG asked Jack Campbell at the Combine if he ever played the Sam and Jack role. The plan just might have been all along to play him at the edge as Jack. Yeah, and could be. I don't know. I'm not privy to that conversation, but whatever it is, it's clearly happening, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon. Good point, Funky One. All right, next, Emmanuel Mosley. Yeah, I think he's going to play, but I think they're going to try to probably limit him tomorrow to just passing downs or obvious passing downs. Probably. They probably don't want him yet mixing it up too much in the run game, but we'll see. All right, Gary, Matt Derby, Locked On Lions. I'll check him out. Dr. Detroit, we could use a DT and a little more D-line. Yeah, I would say it seems like the majority of the conversations that are coming out of the people I know in different spots, it does seem like they're going that way. They obviously have had some conversations about wide receivers too, but I will say those conversations died down. It seems like about a week before Jameson Williams news was announced, and it probably lines up. I found out about it. I think you guys know, whatever it was, like 5-6 hours before the announcement came out, and I was restricted from saying things because that probably would have got some people in trouble. But the Lions probably had some idea from the NFL or the Players Association about a week prior, and that's right about when a lot of the conversations about them trying to acquire another wide receiver also dipped down. So they probably feel comfortable with where their wide receiver room is at this point. Doesn't mean they couldn't add somebody if the right deal came together. But I would say that if we're going to pull off a trade, it's probably going to be defensive line, maybe offensive line. I just can't really think of anything else offhand unless, injury or two happens at a particular position. All right, Funky One, what you got? Tomorrow's player of the game for me is probably D-Money. Yeah, Montgomery's, he could have a big game tomorrow, without doubt. They're not great at stopping the run. We're pretty good at running it. Those are two bad mixes if you're the Carolina Panthers and one of their fans. Grit, hey, good morning to you too. Hope you're having a good one. Hopefully you're having a Mountain Dew. Don Byrne, good one, Funky One. All right, Don. Dr. Detroit, defensive tackle, another wide receiver. All right, I think you guys, I think we all agree on that. All right, J Mommy, I like the guy from Lockdown Panthers that Matt had on yesterday. I'll have to check it out. Don Byrne, you can get Jerry Jeudy for a third probably and a fourth. Don, that's may not be a bad idea, especially since Denver is more than likely going to be in sell mode pretty quickly here. If they would have lost to Chicago, I think you'd already see a lot more trades happening with them. More to come, I suspect, but they're going to have to rebuild that franchise. And, it's unfortunate. They were hoping last season was going to be a bit of a playoff run and maybe a Super Bowl push, but man, nothing ended up being further from the truth. And I'm never a fan of criticizing coaches because exactly what's going on there. They criticized the coach. They brought in the guy who criticized them, and right now he's getting criticized. So maybe there's more to it than just a coaching aspect. All right, Bergs. It'd be nice to see Jones get going if St. Brown didn't play. Yeah, it would be great for Marvin. I mean, he was a great Lion his first time around. I think the fan base likes him. There's no question about it. But with that being said, he hasn't performed this year, so hopefully he can kick it in tomorrow and hey, bring back the Marvin Jones of yesterday. Funky One, the interaction between AG and Jack at the combine is on the Lions YouTube channel shorts. I'll check it out. I will give that a go. Lab 6. At this rate, how many TDs do you think D-Money will get roughly if he stays in somewhat healthy the majority of the season? I don't think it's unreasonable to say 15 to 20. Beyond that, man, you start pushing into rare air. But could he get 25? Sure. There are some teams, including tomorrow, where it's very possible that he would have an opportunity for 2 to 3. Boy, I don't want to say 4, but could it happen? Sure. If they just don't want to throw the ball down there, which they got no reason to, the way things are lining up, yeah, he could have a pretty good season. We'll put it that way. All right, Don. Jones and Benito Jones, because Marvin is cooked. Yeah, Marvin, I hope he has a good game tomorrow. That'd be great for him just to see him again. How much will Jameson Williams play? I'm guessing he's going to get, my initial guess earlier in the week was like somewhere around 15 to 20 snaps, but he could be pushing closer to 25 with St. Brown potentially out tomorrow. We'll see. But if they can control the game and they're just going to pound it all day, then a lot of those snaps he's just going to be out there pseudo run blocking, which we'll see what happens. Grit, coffee for you? Yeah, everybody's got their thing. I've tried coffee once, wasn't for me. I'm sticking to Mountain Dew, but only half diet, half regular. It's got to be from Circle K, and it's got to be from the fountain. So is that specific enough for you guys? All right, Derwin. Yo, good morning to you. Good morning. I hope they sit St. Brown and Branch. Let the others step up. Yeah, and it sounds like, well, we know now that Branch is out, so they're going to rest him and keep him trending towards being as healthy as he can be for Tampa Bay, and then obviously the Baltimore Ravens thereafter. I tell you, though, we get tomorrow, and even if we only get one of the next two, I'm pretty happy with this start. It'd be great to get all three, but hey, I don't want to put too much pressure on him. And then St. Brown, I'm guessing if you ask him, he wants to play, but I'm guessing also that the training staff, I mean, they're ultimately the ones who are going to tell the coaches what they think should happen. And probably in a game like tomorrow, the coaches are going to listen a lot more to that training staff than they would the player. Now, that being said, if this was, playoff-esque game or, division conference game or, I mean, you guys get the point. If it was of that kind of magnitude, do I think Branch and St. Brown will be playing tomorrow? I do. I don't think their injuries are that bad. But if they feel comfortable with being able to roll out there without them and get the win still, they're going to let them rest for bigger games. All right, Derwin, trying to get a last call ticket. I got one last home game. I do have some friends that neighbors that have season tickets that occasionally do sell some. If you guys give me a little bit more notice, I can try to ask them. They almost always do have tickets for sale. I have no idea if they have them, the day before the game. All right, working the tailgate next door to the stadium at the DAC. Okay, that'll be a fun time. I'm sure tomorrow. I was at the last home game, and I had a big cookout tailgate, and yeah, it was a good time. Also met my Lions Talk Live post-game show wasn't the greatest, but hey, prices you pay. All right, Branch not playing is a bad loss, but Mo and Kirby playing will make up for a bunch of that loss. Yeah, if Kirby plays, which I would say I put it at 50-50 right now. Hip injuries are no joke, and especially if you're talking for a secondary player who's got to rely on those hips to turn so much. Excuse me. That I would say this, man, they don't want to risk aggravating it. So if they're not 100% sure he's healthy, I don't think you'll see him tomorrow. Monday, I think he's got a real chance to play, but on limited snaps. Julian, he's getting healthy, so he's probably going to be activated, but we won't know until game time or just before game time. But somebody else is going to have to sit for him to get in, though. All right, hope they out Khalif, Gibbs, and JMO. They're at the same time. Yeah, that's a bunch of dudes with speeds. Yeah, reverse sweeps, trickeration plays. If you ever want to come into a Monday Night Football bingo at Main Street Pub on West Main in Kalamazoo, it's a good time. And yeah, you'll hear trickeration yelled out a lot. But Jordy, I agree that if you put all three out there, it's going to be with specific packages, and yeah, you can do some real damage. Don, with Pascal's injury, it was a knee injury. It must have been a significant one because they did put him on the intermediate IR. So my guess is you're probably not seeing him back until after the bye, maybe a little bit before that. But I think you get the point. He's at that point he'll have been out 2 months, and he must have. There's been no official statement that I've found, and maybe I missed it, so I apologize. But yeah, he tore that knee up pretty good. Next, what's going on with Broderick Martin? The only thing I've been able to hear, it's been limited, so take it with a grain of salt. It's not that they don't like him. He's progressing. It's just he's got a lot of technique he still has to learn for this level of play. He's somebody who got by mostly on just his physical, natural gifts in college. Here, he's going to have to learn a lot more technique. How I was breaking down LaPorta and his hand placements, thumb placements, elbow, and learning how to open up and drive when going through run blocking. The opposite side of that is, in this case, with Martin, is he doesn't have a lot of those techniques. So offensive linemen are having their way with him because he's just been allowed to get by with his physical traits. So I think he's going to be fine in time, but he's not. The coaching staff isn't willing to put somebody else inactive on game day, like Isaiah Buggs or McNeil or Benito Jones or whoever, in order to play him. Because right now they've got a pretty solid 4-person rotation on rundowns with their interior linemen. And then obviously on obvious passing downs, they've got a lot of options to get out there. So I think we'll be fine with them. Just going to have to give them time. Derwin, is Kirby playing? I'd say it's 50-50, man. And if I'm 50-50, if I'm the coaches tomorrow, he's probably not playing. We'll see, though. LaPorta gonna eat tomorrow. Yeah. Super trust fall. I would agree. He's got an opportunity, especially as much as I anticipate we're going to run some play action passes. Yeah, he could put up some numbers tomorrow. Same with Khalif Raymond, Josh Reynolds. You're gonna have some opportunities tomorrow. The Single Dads Club. Can we just get rid of? That's a great question, because when's the last time anybody saw this dude on the field? I mean, last year he was hurt all the time. This year he's hurt all the time. I'm not sure if I see the value there, but he's got, Chris Steele, if you're listening still, this might be a good question. Does he have the same access to the Will Harris information? Curtis Steele, you let me know if you're still watching. All right, Bergs, hip injuries in a DB is tough. Yes, I agree. That's what I was saying. If you can't turn and you can't turn your hips, you can't open up as a receiver's moving, you're almost pointless out there. So, yeah, if he ain't healthy, he ain't playing. All right, Derwin, we need to get a big third quarter. Yeah, 100% here. The last couple of games, those third quarters have been brutal for the Detroit Lions offense, not the D. That's something they've got to come out and address, because you cannot keep playing with fire like that and just saying, hey, eventually we'll score, or eventually our defense will get enough stops where it doesn't matter. Yeah, that's going to bite you in the butt if we don't correct that, and sooner versus later. Derwin, got that from St. Brown Show. Yeah, okay. Let's get them likes up, y'all. I can't see on this screen right now, but if you guys can, go ahead and hit that like button. Also, I'm going to say this. Trying to make the push for 3,500 subscribers before kickoff tomorrow. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. I think we're 40 away, something like that. If you got any friends who like Lions Talk and would like to be a subscriber to Lions Talk Live, maybe ask them to do so. Mostly under 15 snaps. Yeah. The one thing I would say, Kevin, is if the game does stay, a wider margin, Lions are up, 15, 20 or whatever in the second half, then I think you can get him more snaps, because there's less threat of a run game. And I think he's probably going to be okay playing against the pass. I just don't think they're going to want him taking unnecessary contact tomorrow, his first game back. Yeah. We'll move on. All right. The recent St. Brown, Moran, and I'm going to kill the last name. So, or excuse me, his brother's first name, podcast with David Montgomery was really good. You can tell they all really like each other. Must watch. Yeah, I've seen that. There's a couple times, and I think they do a pretty good job with it. So I agree. Lab 6, I think we'll see Marvin have a good game. He needs to step up. Yeah, I would agree. If you're going to replace somebody from that wide receiver room, I mean, he's basically just a coach at this point, unless he does step up. Marvin Jones could be looking at the wrong side of a depth chart call. Goff 3 straight games with interception. Let's not make it 4. Yeah, he needs to get back on one of those streaks of going 2, 3, 4, 5 games without a pick. And I get there's always reasons why they happen. But the one thing I will say, Don, that is good about it is each of those games he's come down and had a touchdown thereafter. Younger Goff would have struggled with that, I think, emotionally a lot more. Newer Goff, he just doesn't seem to care. I mean, he's like, you know what? Go get ready to go make a tackle. I'll probably throw another one. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Knicks with will AG blitz more tomorrow, rookie QB? Here's my question is, do they need to? I mean, they're getting home to the quarterback without blitzing. They're only blitzing on 17% of defensive snaps. So if you don't need to blitz, I would say, could they blitz? Sure. But I think they're going to mix them up fairly heavily, just because you put more people on coverage. A quarterback who's getting pressured with only 4 is got to throw into a whole lot tighter windows because everybody's covered, probably. All right, Derwin, I was watching the tape of the Panthers last night, and they have a good pass rush. I agree with that. Very aggressive, and their quarterback doesn't look bad going over the middle. This feels like a trap game. The only thing I'll say about why I'm thinking it won't be a trap game is because we lost to them last year. The team knows that knocked them realistically out of the playoffs. I think there's a lot of people on this team who are going to want to come in and take out a year's worth of frustration over that loss on them. We'll see what happens, but if the Lions have the killer instinct they've had throughout the year and they're motivated by a loss last year, might be time to put a whooping on somebody. All right, J Mommy, I always hit the like button first. Thanks for that. Derwin, hope they don't underestimate them. Yeah, me too. If they do, then I want to say this: that's a coaching mistake. Players need to be responsible for it too. But if you got beat by this team last year, you know that kept you from the playoffs, and you don't want to repeat that, you need to come out and play perhaps your best game of the season. Funky JD, it depends on how they get pressure with 4. Yeah, I agree with that. Marvin, just a vet for the locker room. Yeah, he won't play that much. I agree. He's brought in for more mentorship, but hopefully he's got a few good games left in him. All right, if you guys haven't hit that subscribe button, please do so. Like I said, we got like 40 more to go to hit the 3,500 mark. Would be appreciative. All right, a couple more, and then, hey, it's time for Dad to head on out and get that morning Mountain Dew. Single Dad's Club. I would love to see Goff with 400 passing yards and a few TDs, and yes, no INTs. Yeah, I think the only thing is Single Dad's Club is, are we going to pound it more? I mean, then I could see us getting something more like 200 yards passing, 200 yards rushing. We'll see, though. I mean, we hit some deep shots off play action. You could get closer to your goal. All right, what do we got here? Hey, Win, what's happening, man? Good morning to you. Well, will J-Mo have his first tantrum in this game? I don't think so, man. We'll see, but I don't think so. I mean, he's going to get some plays. He's going to have some design plays from Ben Johnson. I have no doubt they're going to put in a couple things for him to just get him going, get that confidence up, get him to be a part of the locker room again and feel part of the team. That's a coaching thing there. It won't happen more than likely on the first play, the second play, but somewhere during the game, you're probably going to see 2 or 3 plays specifically set up to get him open and have a high probability of success, just again, to get his confidence going and feeling good. All right, Marvin Jones suffered from arthritis. He's getting old. Yeah, and hey, it happens, man. I mean, I'm 51 in a month, and yeah, I can tell you, I don't move quite the way I once did. So, anywho, I hope Gibbs and J-Mo get their first touchdowns of the season. It's a possibility. This will be a good game for it. All right, only got 16 likes. Come on now, y'all. You're all watching. Come on. Just take a second and hit that button. Help out here. Thanks for that, Derwin. All right, guys. Let's see. Grit, what do we got here? All the years of catching passes from Stafford probably didn't help. Yeah, check out Megatron's hands. Yeah, and I think we all know Stafford had a cannon or has a cannon for an arm. And yeah, you've heard lots of receivers talk about it. It takes a little time to get used to it. But anyways, all right, so I gave you my score prediction yesterday. I do think the Lions will win by 17 or so. I'm not a betting person, so I'm not going to tell you to put money on it. But I will have the post-game show on tomorrow. You guys let me know. Do you guys want me to do live streams? I did one for the Packers game and Kansas City game. I think some of you guys liked it. So you guys let me know. I don't mind doing them. When I do them, typically, I try to do it from a coaching standpoint. Hey, you see this out of the defense. This is what they're giving us, what they're taking away. Offense has got this personnel here out. This guy's emotion. You guys get a coaching breakdown. Let me know if you guys want me to do some of those. I will. Otherwise, I don't mind just doing the post-game show. Birds, yes. I'm going to go get that Mountain Dew in just a second here. Michael, what you got? YouTube only shows 5 likes. They hate the Lions too. Yeah, could be something. Mountain Blue, no, Mountain Dew. Greatest stuff ever, man. I'm telling you, I'm going to live to be 150, and part of that's because of the power of the Mountain Dew. All right, you guys all have a great day. Thanks for coming on in. I will see you tomorrow on the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.